Hey, today we're going to break down a Daiwa BG90. I'm going to pop the spool off by unscrewing this. And to get the handle off, you have to undo a screw that's on this side. I don't think I've already serviced this. I don't remember. I hope not. Then just pulls out like this. And let's go ahead and undo excuse me, these screws right here to pull the spool shaft out and remove the rotor. Now the bearings I've already done. There's a couple of shims under that bearing right there. I believe you can just pull it straight out. I think so. Well, let's not even do it. Let's go ahead and undo the screw. I'm gonna pull the shaft out like this. This one was a little stiff. Pull that out. There's the block and the cross line comes off with this screw here. And now let's go ahead and remove this screw to remove that locking plate to get the nut off so we can remove the rotor. Just pull straight up. Can't get this off. It's probably locked in there with some thread lock or something. But under that line roller is a bushing. So all we're looking at is a post, a bushing, and a line roller. But I will remove this stuff here just so you can see what's underneath, and also to add some grease and stuff to it. And then just pop that up and you're good to go. Let me get this out of the way. let's finish the spool up. You can also remove this nut here in the drag knob by popping off that clip right there, and it just pops right up. I'm not going to do that, but I did want you to know that you could do that. To remove the drag, just pop off this spring here. Just hold on to it so it doesn't go flying anywhere. And it comes out like that. And to remove the clicker, we simply pop this E-clip off. And push this up. It just comes off the post like that. All right, let's undo the this lever here. There's a couple of shims under there. And now we can undo this dog. And I'm going to pull this up before I do that so I don't damage that part. And this as well. That separates like that. And now we can pull this lever up like so. And I'm going to remove this cover to get the bearing, the pinion bearing out, as well as the pinion. Just pop straight up, and let's get that final bearing out of the other side there as well, so you can see it. And again, I've already done these bearings because they needed to be cleaned and re-greased, and that's pretty much it. Just making sure there's nothing else here that I need to show you. Oh, we can do the handle, I think. Yeah. To undo the handle, you need to undo this screw here. And then unscrew this. And it comes apart like that. Okay, so I'm going to come back to you in a sec and show you how to put it all back together. So I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so let's do the handle first. I'm going to grease this area here where water can kind of get into and eat away at the metal. Drop that in. Let me add a little bit of grease inside there as well where the hole is, so the thread on this screw can grab some of that. also add some oil to this knob. So it doesn't creak anymore, or minimizes the creak. And let me grease this up while we're here. I'm gonna grease that pretty good. I'm also add a little grease inside that hole right there. And that is it for the handle. Where I want to stick this. Alright, so let's go ahead and grease up the pinion and some of these components here so we can get the top part put back in, as well as the the lever. Definitely gonna grease this up, and especially right here, or at the bottom and the top. Some of these older reels, just kind of be careful with that right there. Over time they kind of just get worn and just can break off in your hand if you're too aggressive with them. Just going to grease around here. Add some residual grease to the top and bottom of the ratchet, as well as the dog, but none on the end that engages, and here as well. And this lever, or this spring, just comes off like that. I'm going to grease this up like that, and I'm also going to grease in that groove where it sits, just add a little more friction to it so it can more effectively engage and disengage the dog, or just engage the dog, excuse me. And it'll sit. No, that's not it. It'll sit just like that. Okay, so let's get the pinion and the bearing back in. Let me go ahead and grease in here where the bearing is going to sit first. I'm also going to grease a little bit up on top here where that pinion will ride, and inside the hole as well. Drop the bearing in. And let's put the cover on, and it actually only goes one way. Okay, and then let's screw that in. All right, and now we can put our lever in. I'm going to add some grease in these holes as well. There and down here as well. Just going to drop that in place. If this spring ever comes out, the way it's going to sit is with the pronged end, or the pronged end of the curved end, coming up through the bottom. So just kind of drop that in there like that and leave it raised up slightly so you can get this end of the spring over and inside the hole. Turn that so I can do it. And just hold down on it while you turn this gently and push down. Let's try it again. Hold down on that, turn gently and push down, and then hold the top of this part gently. Just hold it straight down, don't push or angle it left or right and risk breaking it. And now we can put our lever on. This wide washer went first, or the larger washer went first, and then this keyed one after. If I can get it up there. And then just stick the lever on. Then go ahead and snug it down. And now we can stick our dog on. I'm sorry, let's stick the this portion on, and then we'll stick the dog on afterwards. Where's our ratchet? Ratchet sits just like that. And now we can stick the dog on. Add a little bit of oil inside there. Nothing crazy. And let's just tighten that down. Now we can stick this piece in. Just make sure that the spring goes through the slot so it engages and disengages. Alright, that's good. Now let me go ahead and grease the hole in here and on the other side where the bearing is going to sit, as well as some other places in here that you can see. I'm also going to grease here. Here. On top of that right there. And even inside that hole, because the screw is going to sit inside there. And that should be about it. Now we can do the the crosswind gear, and then we'll jump to the rotor, because this is going to screw in, so there's no risk of this falling out. sure you grease around that post there. And I'm also going to grease the bottom of this. This is a bit excessive for grease, but it is I like to do that with the older reels, and this was just kind of wear evenly as you use the reel, so shouldn't be anything too bad. I'm also going to add a light amount of grease inside here where that screw is going to sit. Then just drop that in. I'll make sure I can do that without impeding the bearing. I may not be able to, so I'm going to stick the bearing inside first. And then screw that in. When I lock this, or when I screw this down, I'm going to double check to make sure this is spinning fine. That feels good. Okay. And I'm going to leave the point somewhere in that area. Alright, so let's do the rotor, and then we'll work on the rest of the stuff to get the spool shaft in and get this reel put together. There's a lot of pieces for this for the bail, so that's good. And you really don't need to grease inside here. It's just a facade type of cover that acts as a support, but nothing really happens in there. And again, here only goes a spring, so it's nothing really too intricate. I did grease inside that hole right there where the screw will go. Alright, so for the spring, the short end will be facing inside this housing here, and the longer end will be going up to the bail. So just drop it inside the hole. And now we're going to stick that end inside that hole there, and then just lock it down. I actually don't like installing this end first. I don't know why. I think it's one of those personal preference sort of things. But if it gets too difficult, you can always attach this end first to act as more of a support or leverage for getting this side attached. Alright, so I think I'm going to give in and attach the other side first. And then try to use that to help me to get the bail arm side in. Let me add some grease inside here. Sorry, some oil inside there. And kind of work that in. And then we can just screw this in place and get back to the other side afterwards. Now again, we can stick the spring inside this hole here and make sure it fits inside the hole at the top. Get out. Like so. And now we can try to get this in. And I like that there's a little bit of a support for it. Still difficult either way. And it looks like that would shoot out, but it doesn't. And even if it does, it doesn't go very far because it's attached by two places. The way I normally put this in is I'll just kind of hold it against my body so I can support that. So I can support this pressure that I'm putting on it. What I'm trying to do so you guys can see it. That may not work. So I'm putting it in the body and then I'll show you the end result. So all I did was just push this part up against my body to make sure the hole is in line with the, or for the screw, and then screwed it in. Now we can put this cover on. Make sure it's sitting flush, and then screw it in. Now since I can't open this up, I'm going to add some oil inside the bottom. Work that a little bit, and then do it on the other side as well. And then some here as well. Not putting a lot, I'm just putting a dab. Okay, and that's it for the for the bail. I'm sorry, for the rotor and the bail. While I'm here, I'm going to add some grease to here, and some to here as well, and inside that where the spool shaft goes through. All right, so now we can do this portion of it. I'm gonna get my main gear and then we'll get those things put in and put the rotor on top. So let's go ahead and grease this up. And I'm also going to grease the shaft up. Then just kind of wipe that in with my hands or my fingers. Now we can put the crossline block on there. Stick the main gear in. I like to leave that open so I can go backwards and forwards if I need to move that block around. Now we can stick this on. Then screw that in. I'm gonna add some residual grease to this. Then we're gonna find the, I'm holding on to the main gear while I do this. Make sure this hole is lined up, and then we'll screw that in as well. That looks good. Let me go ahead and grease the back of this up. Then we'll stick that the bearing on and the shaft inside. Let's go with the shaft first. The shaft is going to be facing, the flat edge will be facing upwards to slide into the block. Then we can screw that in. And I'm going to cover that with a little bit of grease. Now we can put the bearing, the final bearing on, and then add our side cover and then head to the spool. Let's add some grease to these holes right here. And even to those right there where just the post on that side sits. The post from the side house. Then just screw it in. Just double checking something here. I'm gonna pause the camera and I'm gonna play with these shims on here. So I just want to make sure this is turning smoothly, and right now it feels a little or slightly stiff. So I'll be right back to you guys. Okay, so I removed one of the shims on here. What was happening is what I was looking at before I turned the camera off was this, and I'll show it to you. See where there's a gap? If I push, the gap comes back. So obviously it's pressing onto something, right? So it's putting a lot of, or some pressure on the gears inside. So when I turn it, it turns pretty sluggishly. See that? So what I did was removed the top shim and tried it just with one. And it sat better, because when I screw this in, I'm going to be putting pressure on this plate. So it sat better like that and turned better like that as well. We'll find out when we put everything together and test it out. If it works well like that, then we'll leave the shim off. If not, we'll try something else. Okay, so let's screw this in. It feels better. I'm gonna jump around and try something, see how it cranks. Yeah, that feels better. Okay, we'll do a final test afterwards. Alright, so let's do the spool, and then we'll get this put together and test it out to make sure it works properly. I already cleaned all these off, so I'm just going to drop them back in there. The way it sits is the Teflon washer. Clean these off again, I don't want any liquid on there, whatever that is. Then you have the aired washer. The final Teflon washer, and then the final metal washer that's keyed. Let me just pop that in place. Make sure it sits inside the groove. That looks good. Now we can do the click assembly. Which isn't like terribly tricky, but it's not the easiest either. Adding some grease around these posts. A little bit on these things, not too much. Not putting any in a point. Could or could not. Then stick the where's my thing? Stick this end over this post first. Then you're going to stretch it over to the other side. Now we can stretch this one over this post, like so. Then we just add the E-clip and we should be in business. This is a little tricky because you have to kind of push down on this, on the clicker itself, as you push this E-clip on, and it can certainly go flying, so you just have to be careful with that. And that's it for the clicker. So let's put this reel together and test it out to see how it feels. Let me add some grease here. I'm gonna rub that around. This is a little too much. just want a light coat. And I did not remove the Teflon washer that's on there. Note that can come off and go back on. Apologize for missing that part. This is kind of a balancing act here. Alright, so let's see how this feels. Feels good. I'm not using that bumper at all to test this out. I'm just going to test to make sure that works. Then we'll test the drag. Drag feels good. Then we'll test the anti-reverse and then we're done. We have some slippage there. I'm gonna open that back up and see. Yeah, we're slipping a little bit on the anti-reverse, so I'll clean it up a little bit more and get that working properly. But that's basically it. So thanks for watching, guys. Please don't forget to subscribe if you like what you see. Tell your friends about the channel and hit the like button. Yeah, I keep forgetting about that one. And certainly make comments if you feel obligated or inclined to do so. All right, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.